right, welcome back, guys. We are down to our last match of the GSL Code A Round of 16 Day 1. I'm Doa. That's Moletrap over there. And we have got our last match involving a foreigner in the GSL. If he can win, he's going to the up and down matches. If not, he's still in Code A next season. He's in Code A Limbo, Code A Purgatory, if you will. But
for sure,
man, that last faux show. I see what you did there. It's funny.
I stole that joke from a person who tweeted it at me.
That last match, man.
Thank you, Densha82.
That last match was just... That was a heartbreaker, man.
It was kind of heartbreaking.
I'm happy for Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, he worked. He's been in Code A forever. You know, like you mentioned. I mean, he broke the curse. He gets to the up and downs finally. But, oh, it's like that game. It's like, your pro just missed it so many times. Oh, well.
Yeah, in a way,
it's over.
I'm kind of disappointed just because, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Being a player who was always in Code A but never succeeded, it was kind of like a tradition, man.
Yeah, that's true.
It was a tradition.
He broke tradition, I guess.
By the way,
but
quick,
it happens.
Yeah, quick correction. The hero, I kept saying it was his first time in Code A. I forgot he actually was in Code A Season 4 as well and lost to Noblesse in the first round of that.
Right.
So apologies for that.
Well, we have to move on, don't we? Here we go. Here is our Zerg player from the team Startail. Look at that. They've actually switched back to their old logo. And he took out MVP Sniper 2-0 in the round of 32 in his EVZ. It is, of course, Curious, as you can see on the panel there at the bottom of your screen. And he is going to be going against our last remaining foreign player from the team Dignitas. You'll see him soon. Now, Curious is a Zerg player that I feel like he gets a little bit better each time we see him. You know, he's not improving by leaps and bounds like some of the other players, but he's steadily getting better, I think. But there is Dignitas Sjow from Sweden. He's here to compete in the GSL. He beat Maka Prime 2-1.
That was a spectacular series.
That was a crazy series, man. Maka did some Maka things in that game. We'll say Maka does Maka strategies. This is what he does.
He did mock a few mistakes.
He did. He did mock a few command centers randomly in that second game.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was the Antigua Shipyards game. He made like 4 command centers at the 10-minute mark. I'm like, Maka, what are you doing? But either way, Sjow just played better, came out on top.
Well, Maka underestimated Sjow, to be honest with you.
I really feel that too. I think he did. I think Maka was playing around. He didn't take Sjow seriously.
He thought this was Brood War, where Koreans could just mess around and still beat foreigners. And
those days are done, man.
Those days are not quite the case. Yeah. Koreans at this point still have an edge overall over foreigners overall, but obviously we have Sjow here in the round of 16 of Code 8 competing alongside the Koreans, showing that he is on a similar level at the very least. He's going to have to face Curious, though, and we were talking with Sjow earlier. Traditionally, statistically, first Zerg is not his best matchup, and he was saying it's not what he's confident against either.
Yeah, he's also the type of player, though, that not get nervous. I mean, this guy just doesn't look nervous ever, so that's going to help him out a lot. Who's going to come out on top? Startail Curious versus Dignitas Sjow here on the GSL Code A. Let's get in the game. All right. Thanks, first of all, to our sponsors, Sony Ericsson, Intel, and G-Skill. Down at the bottom of the map, we have our yellow Zerg player from the team Startail. He wants a win. Wants to find a way to beat him. He is
Startail Curious.
He's curious, and I'm curious to see what he's going to do. I know I say that like basically every game, but I actually do feel that. I'm always like excited. There's so much anticipation, Moletrap. And here at the top of the map, we have our Swedish player from Sweden. He is from the team Dignitas as well.
Dignitas Sjow.
Yeah, man. I want to know what Curious's strategy is going to be so much. I'm dying of anticipation.
All right. I didn't get that one. I'm sorry.
Sorry, it's all right.
I'm sorry.
Rocky Horror references I'm throwing out today.
Oh, I actually haven't seen that entire thing the whole way through, honestly. So Sjow, there was a time when this guy did not scout before he had his Hellion, like ever. I casted so many of this guy's games when he played in a lot of online events on NA, and I always kind of was like, well, huh. But
and
a lot of times he does scout before that this time. So
and
okay
just
now.
to go back to something you mentioned earlier about him not being nervous, that's why he's not nervous also. This guy's been in, multiple hundreds. He's been in like 300 or 400 tournament games, across different tournaments. He's got a dozen or more tournament wins, either golds or silvers in online tournaments and some stuff like that. He's been in show matches, or
they're all show matches.
They're all show matches. He's been in stage matches in front of thousands of people at MLG. So once you've done it, enough of that, you kind of get over the nervousness. So he's definitely going to be playing at a confident level here.
And even back, when he was waiting to scout before his Hellion, he still won a lot of games. He still took a lot of those firsts and seconds. And this guy, like every action he does means something. He doesn't really do any useless actions. His APM is actually one of the lowest of any pro player out there, but that's okay actually because he's one of the most efficient pro players with what he does out there as well. So fascinating guy to watch play. I've always really enjoyed watching him.
Yeah. He actually, we saw him against Maka. He scouted with his first Marines every time, and he's doing the same thing here actually, which is really interesting. That usually, players will keep those Marines at home to be safe against Zerglings and block scouts from coming in and that kind of thing. No, he's actually just throwing his Marines out onto the map and attacking the corners of the map with them to scout with them.
Well, if he finds a roaming Zergling, he can take it out. So.
Well, he actually almost caught Curious's Overlord at the top right, so
that's
that could have been good.
Yeah, Overlord snipes early in the game are hugely powerful. Looks like he's going to go for a Reactor Hellion Expand. As we like to say so often, it is the safest opening in TVZ currently, in most situations.
Yeah, and
oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, even though he did scout with those Marines, he didn't actually technically scout Curious's base. He just, by process of elimination, went to the other two. So he still doesn't actually have any idea what's going on in Curious's base.
Yeah, he generally doesn't like to ever use his SCVs to get out there and look for things. I mean, and to be fair, if you keep all your SCVs in your base, you do gain a lot more minerals that way. You get your command center faster. So there are definitely benefits to doing it like that. It's not quite as common, but there's not necessarily anything wrong with it either.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to hurt you in situations like if Curious had decided to go for like a Roach Rush or something like that, then it could have caught him off guard, but he's at least going to have some control of the map now. Hellions going in, getting some drones.
Yep.
And if he gets out of there, yes, he is going to get out of there without losing a Hellion.
Yeah.
Free kills. Got 3 drones there.
Yep, and now he can just basically sit there and deny creep for a while. He can make sure that Curious doesn't take a very fast third or anything, and if Curious wants to, do something like that, he's going to have to produce a big amount of Zerglings. Oh, but looks like Sjow wants to get more aggressive. Going after some more drones. He's going to need to be careful, though. I don't know if this is the best decision. Yeah, losing those Hellions, that's generally not something you want to do. I mean, it's tempting to try to get in there and kill drones, but they're really so much more valuable in terms of denying a third and creep spread and things like that. But thought he had an opportunity, decided to try to take it.
Even though he did kill some more stuff there, the resources lost actually tipped in favor of our Zerg Curious after that, because those Hellions were more expensive than the Lings he was killing.
Yes, that's right. And he only managed to kill 3 drones total with that as well. These Lings might even be able to surround this one. Oh, Marine's there to save it. They are okay.
Yes, indeed.
Yep.
Mainly
really
Nest going down.
Fast stim for Sjow as well. Very fast stim.
And a very fast lair for Curious off just those 2 bases.
Interesting. Baneling Nest as well. Curious may just want to get, as many meters as he can very quickly. Try to put a lot of pressure on Sjow as well. But it looks like Sjow is just going to have a ton of Marines to deal with this, so this may actually work out in his favor a little bit.
Curious is already getting his creep spread out pretty well. And hasn't overmade too many Zerglings, so his economy's going well as well. He's got 47 drones to just the 35 SCVs of Sjow. Yeah. So he's pretty much fully saturated at both of his bases, Curious is.
This is actually, what Sjow is doing is actually really similar to what we were seeing Gumiho do in his games earlier today, where he was just going very, very Marine heavy, as you can see. And the Overseer is going to spot it, so Gumiho's going to know what's going on, but not too big of a secret.
And
anyway.
Contaminate now costs 125 energy, so
That is expensive.
he could not goop any of those barracks or anything like that.
Yeah. It's expensive, man. 125, that's as much as a Seeker missile. Which also got a slight buff this patch.
Yeah, there's a speed buff on the Seekers now.
Probably not going to see any Seeker missiles in this game.
No.
Sadly.
That is sad.
Looks like Curious is ready for drops. You know, it's about that time in the game where you do have to kind of prepare for that, so he's getting ready.
I like this Viking by Sjow. He's just roaming around. Zergs don't have any anti-air until Spire usually, so he can just kill off Overlords. And Scout is, kind of like making a Phoenix to scout with.
Yeah. Now, I will say with what Sjow is doing, he is playing it a little bit different than Gumiho. He is making tanks. Gumiho just went Marines and Medevacs. So he will have that kind of strong backbone of tanks to sort of prop up the pushes that he's going to be doing. So he's playing a little bit safer overall here. Baneling speed on the way for Curious. Very standard Mutiling, Baneling. Progress so far for him.
Yep.
And it looks like there's a drop in the main right now. In the main of Startail Curious. In the main, there it is. There's a drop. Did some damage, and he did need to pick up here, dropping off the natural. Again, the medevac getting a little bit low here. These Marines are going to be left out to dry.
And they will be dry indeed.
Not going to get a queen, but causing a little bit of damage, keeping Sjow on his toes a little bit.
Yeah, nicely done targeting down that medevac with his queens.
Oh, that's not going to work much well.
Sometimes the queens will just attack the Marines instead of the medevacs, and then the medevacs at full health can just pick up the Marines and get out.
Yeah.
So good targeting there by Curious, and Show's moving out to take a third.
Yeah, it looks like he wants to try to continue dropping. He's moving some Marines into his main, obviously to defend against these mutas that are coming up here. And so these guys aren't going to do quite as much, but maybe can force a stim. There's one stim, not really being too valuable here. And Curious does pick off a couple Marines and doesn't take a whole lot of damage to his mutas. Oh, never mind. Got a little bit too aggressive at the end there.
Be careful, he's actually on the verge of losing a couple of those mutas.
Yeah, only one muta in the green yet. Good crisp larva injecting.
Good defense by Sjow there, keeping his Marines kind of spread around so he's not vulnerable to any specific location.
Now,
not too many turrets though.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, am I just reading that right, or is Sjow actually ahead in gathers for the moment?
He is not.
He is not. He was a second ago, I promise.
Maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, as it is now, Curious...
Let's pretend he was.
No, he might have been. Curious might have just produced 8 drones, which is how many he's up. So it's very easy for a Zerg to make that many drones. Curious is now breaking down the rocks at Show's third. Wants to do some harassment there, but Sjow is pretty well defended.
Yeah.
He's got tanks and Marines in that third, so he's going to be fine.
And this is always a problem for Terran. This rock's getting broken down, opens up a huge other counterattack path. In fact, there you go. Ling's running in right now. He does have some siege tanks there, and Curious will need to pull back.
Nice placement.
Yep.
Ren, again, coming in to harass the main with these mutas.
Oh, and that was not canceled. We didn't see the little letters fly up, so we did actually lose the reactor that was building on there. That's going to prevent even more medevacs from coming out soon.
Curious taking a fourth in response to this. He's like, all right, well, I can't quite break you right now, but you can't quite move out either because I've got these mutas, so I'm just going to take my fourth base.
And Sjow seems to have kind of given up to a certain extent on the drop play just because Curious has been so active with his mutas as well. It's become a little bit too dangerous. Looks like he's going to just try to push instead.
We do sometimes see Terran players that will consistently keep dropping even when there's mutas out, and the returns diminish so much that it's really hard to actually get anything out of that. So those mutas, watch out. Oh, they are going to come in and get a couple tanks. Nice.
Nice snipe by Curious there. Yeah, the only Terran that really seems to be able to make that work is MMA right now. Oh no, is he going to lose those tanks too? Oh, big mistake by Sjow. He was having to deal with the Lings and Banelings coming in from the front, and things are just not going well at the moment. He does have to pull back. That pusher shut down.
Yeah, that was actually huge. Killing 4 tanks effectively shuts down Show's push and any chance of him pushing in the immediate future, because he's going to need at least a few more tanks if he's ever going to push. He's also going to need tanks to defend any kind of counterattack. So Sjow is really on the back foot right now. He's really has no control right now of the map.
And this meter harass is starting to take its toll. It's pretty expensive to keep replacing those turrets like this. And look at that, pulling the Marines back causes the Zerglings to come into there. And all the tanks are going to get, well, 2 of the tanks anyway are going to get taken down.
Yeah,
and the meter harass continues. Yeah, the game just kind of falling apart for Sjow right now.
Yeah, he is now 70 supply behind at this point.
Yep.
It was just losing those tanks and losing that push. It's just a downward spiral for him.
Yeah, you lose a big engagement like that, you know, with leaving your tanks vulnerable. You get kind of baited away from your main, and the mutas can do some damage. That can really, really ruin the momentum that Terran has. Another counterattack coming into the third. And yeah, I think Sjow is just in big trouble right now.
He's in huge trouble, man.
Yeah.
All of his forces drawn back to the main by the mutas. The Zerglings run in the front. He runs all of his forces to the front, deal with the Lings. The mutas go in the back. Just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Sjow does not have anything to deal with this. He finally has a Thor out in his main that might be able to hold his main from muta counterattacks for a little while.
Well, Curious is really using the mobility of this Ling muta style very, very well. I don't think that Sjow has enough Marines to handle this. And when he loses these Marines, this could be GG. There it is, GG. And Startail Curious doing very, very well against Dignitas Sjow in game 1. Yeah, man, those pushes are tough. If you leave your tanks vulnerable like that can ruin your whole day.
Yeah, man. And that's definitely ruined half of Show's day at least. But he still has one more chance, of course.
Shoya giving him a little bit of advice there.
Yeah,
more like he's saying, why'd you lose your tanks? Sjow is staying at the FXO house right now, is what I'm trying to say, yeah.
He and Select, they're both staying there, so I guess
that's right.
Shoya's kind of a surrogate coach for the moment.
Naniwa is over at MVP because he's going to hook up with Complexity here. Yeah. News just broke today, so that's fun. Seeing players move around. But yeah, game 2.
A lot of players changing teams lately.
Yeah. Well, it happens. You know, I mean, it's like any sport, really. You know, you see players move around teams fairly frequently. It's, I don't know, just part of the game. Second map is going to be Crossfire.
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 Crossfire. Crossfire.
That's right. So, ZVT on Crossfire, we already saw one of these today, but it was a very different style than I think we're going to see Sjow play. He tends to play, you know, more of the standard Western tank marine medevac style. And the trouble with that sometimes is that I feel like a lot of the Zergs here in Korea have just figured that out to such a huge extent that it's really tough to make it work. You know, you don't see a lot of Terran players really doing that anymore.
Yeah, I do think that style is going to fare a little bit better on a map like Crossfire, though.
That's true. That's true.
Since it is a narrower map, there's a lot more smaller choke points. It depends on where it depends on where you fight, basically, though. There are a couple places where it's wider. Yeah. So if Curious can manage to fight in those spots, he's going to be better off. But if Sjow can force the fights to go on at the choke points or at the ramps, then he's going to have a more of an advantage if he does go with that tank marine style. So it's going to come down to where they choose to have their fights, where the fights are forced.
That's right. Remember back when like Sjow first came on the scene and people were like pronouncing his name Sjow and stuff? That was funny.
I just wondered. I was like never sure how it was supposed to be pronounced.
I actually, when the first game I casted him, I actually like did research before it. I actually found a European interview about him and he pronounced it. And then I knew right away. Otherwise, because I wasn't sure at first either. But.
Well, like I believe in Swedish, the J is kind of a Y sound, right? So that's maybe why it be pronounced like that.
Despite my heritage, I don't know enough to really say yes or no in that case.
Sjow.
Anyway, let's see what happens.
Yep. We don't have to be curious who's going to show us a better match for very long because
I can't believe you did.
I had to, man. I had to.
Actually, I can. It's okay.
Game number 2 is about to start on Crossfire. We're going to find out if Sjow can bring it to a tie or if Curious can bring home the win and advance to the up and down matches here at the GSL Code A.